What happens when the internet turns against you? When strangers rip apart your life, your choices, your existence, with endless paragraphs of criticism going so far as to create hate forums? Well, according to Mel Robbins, you let them. Today we're unpacking the let them theory by best-selling author Mel Robbins and diving into a real-life case study surrounding lifestyle influencers Michel Janse and her husband, singer-songwriter Jordy Searcy. Why do people obsess over tearing others down? And more importantly, how do you rise above it, whether you're the one being hated or the one doing the hating? Before we dive into our case study, hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's ashleybtv. I'm a former TV news reporter and Hollywood actress, taking you behind the headlines. If you like culture deep dives and real talk, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for my weekly videos. My curiosity around internet hate culture began a few weeks ago when I received my own hate. I went on a bigger platform and shared my experience about how I interviewed Meghan Markle and what that was like. This was one of my most embarrassing interviews I've ever done. And of course, since it wasn't the popular opinion, I, of course, expectedly received hate.
If people are going into the show already hating Meghan Markle, this is not the show that's going to convince them that she's like the best thing in the world.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
And people went so far as to say I was delusional, I was a naive little girl, making fun of my voice, which is always hilarious to me because I literally have made so much money off of my voice for cartoons and TV shows. But what was the most interesting to me was my reaction. I genuinely did not care. Which was kind of a foreign concept to me because being in Hollywood and the industry for so long, of course, you care about what others think of you. You are literally performing for other people to give you their reaction, which is always subjective. Of course, you're going to have people who love you and people who hate you, but sometimes the hate can outweigh the love. Well, in this case, I just didn't care. I was like, yeah, you guys are helping my engagement. The haters make me famous.
Well, that was stressful. I thought I was going to have a grand mal seizure.
It was honestly like great to me. I was like, great, just push out my content even more. And then I realized this must be what Mel Robbins is talking about in her book, The Let Them Theory.
Mel is one of the most followed and sought after experts in mindset, behavior change, and life improvement. She wrote a book and it's called The Let Them Theory. It's a life-changing tool that millions of people cannot stop talking about.
So of course I had to read it and I devoured it all and dove right in and I realized that's what I was feeling. The let them theory.
The message with the let them theory is that no matter what's going on outside of you, the power is always inside of you.
Okay.
And so two simple words, let them, are the key to helping you to see what's in your control and what's not in your control.
Let them make comments saying that you're delusional or mocking your voice. It really doesn't matter to you. In fact, it helps you because, especially if you're a creator, it helps your engagement. Mel Robbins says, you don't need to control how people see you. You just need to let them be wrong about you. I absolutely love that. And ironically, as I was thinking about this to make this video, a TikTok popped up of Jordy Searcy saying this.
My wife has like 1,000 haters on the internet. People that just comment the meanest things and they cannot stand my wife. And my wife is the best. So if you're one of these people, would love to hear just like why do you hate me and my wife so much for no reason? I'm genuinely curious. It's just give me your like comment, your like just the best reason that you have that we are the worst people that you've ever seen and you love watching every single piece of content that we put on the internet and like you hate us all for it, but you still watch all of it.
Now, we all know that influencers and celebrities everywhere, I mean, hate is going to be among public figures, right? But I've never actually seen a video where someone is actually addressing the camera, calling out the haters and saying, why? Why do you hate me? And I was actually thinking about this. I'm like, why did he make that video? And then I thought about all of our A-list celebrities. And I think here's the difference when it comes to A-list celebrities and online creators. A-list celebrities with millions and millions of followers, they almost just see everything as a number, like it's not even real at times. But when you're a little bit closer to the action, even with a big audience of a couple 100,000 people, you still feel like you're a little bit closer and things feel a little bit more real. So things might affect you a little bit more, which is why we're going to break down this case study. So we're going to take this case study of Michel and Jordy, but you can really apply it to pretty much every online creator and influencer who receives a ton of hate. Just a little background, Michel is a lifestyle influencer. She lives out of San Diego. She was also a Hollywood actress. She went really viral for her video on her horrible divorce and and all of the mess she went through on that. And then people started gravitating towards her for her videos on vulnerability and really started connecting with her. And then she got remarried, and it seems like the hate increased. So as part of our case study, Jordy mentioned that there are hate forums online about Michel. We found them on Reddit, and there are a few thousand people who join these hate forums, and people literally hate on pretty much every video she posts. She's been roasted all over the internet, and they're not just little jabs, by the way. They're huge, blown out essays on Reddit. People are analyzing their voices, their food, their relationships, their nuance, how he's treating her, just all of these little things. And here are some examples just on the screen. But what's interesting is one commenter says that they've become a real life soap opera that's kind of fun to watch. And in that case, the haters are technically your biggest supporters. Others have said it's like a train wreck they can't turn away from. Then these influencers are doing their job. They're grabbing your attention and they're keeping it. It appears that maybe Jordy is playing into this as well, making more comments about it online.
I was talking about all the hate that my wife gets online. I like wrote a very sweet song about her called 21. If you can't relate to that song, I'm so happy for you.
This was intended to be a hate comment towards me and my wife, but it's really just so sweet.
One could argue that it's these lifestyle creators' fault because they're letting the public in to be scrutinized. But maybe there shouldn't be an argument at all. Maybe, whether you're hating or the one being hated, the better thing to do is to let them. Let them do what they're gonna do. Let's break it down. Why do people spend hours writing hate posts online? Hate isn't always about the person being hated. Hate comes from insecurity, boredom, jealousy. But in Michel's case, why are people so obsessed with them? Well, a lot of online criticism comes from people claiming to be concerned for her. But tearing someone apart online under a guise of caring doesn't help them. It just helps spread negativity. Michel and Jordy's story proves that the internet will always have something to say. So if you're being hated, there are a few things you can do according to Mel Robbins. Change yourself endlessly for strangers, or stay rooted and let them. But don't necessarily feed into it, unless that's the goal, to continue to stir up the drama. And hey, no judgment there if it helps your algorithm. Mel Robbins explains that hurt people hurt people. Most hate comes from people who are deeply unfulfilled or angry in their lives. They crave control. Tearing others down helps them feel smarter, superior, and more powerful. And projection. Seeing someone confident might remind them that they aren't. Seeing someone soft and vulnerable might remind them that they don't feel safe enough to be that way. So what do? They lash out, loud, publicly, and often anonymously. Or like we just saw some commenters, this is like their Hulu or Netflix. They're just there to grab the popcorn and watch the drama. So according to Mel Robbins, here's what I've learned. Don't defend yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Mute, block, walk. Not everything deserves your energy. Stay rooted to your truth. It's better to be hated for being real than loved for being fake. And remember, you're not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. You're not tea anyway. You're champagne, and champagne gets popped, not approved. Even just saying the words, just let them. It's fine. It honestly releases this stressful energy that you're holding within yourself. Why this works. When you stop wasting your energy trying to control or change others, you release attachment to how others behave. It gives you back the power and you're able to control your own emotions and focus. You're not for everyone, and that's okay. Not everyone's gonna support your dreams or your lifestyle or treat you fairly. Once you accept this, you'll feel free from trying to please everyone. Detachment equals freedom. Letting people have their thoughts, feelings, and actions without interference helps you to live more peacefully. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care more about your own peace and protecting your energy. Not reacting to drama, negativity, or rejection saves your emotional bandwidth. You become more focused, creative, and authentic. The lesson for entrepreneurs and creators, not everyone is going to understand your mission, so let them misunderstand. Focus on serving your audience, not proving to the doubters. The real power move is don't beg, chase, or try to convince. Stay in your lane and let your results speak for themselves. When you let others steal your energy and take away your peace, whether they're hating on you online or whether they post something and you absolutely hate it, you're actually signaling to your brain to leave the prefrontal cortex and go into the amygdala, and that is the stress area. It's your stress response, which causes rash decision-making and impulsive behaviors, and it's taking away your peace. This part of your brain is actually where the fight or flight comes into, your survival mode, and you're not supposed to be in this part of your brain for extensive periods of time. And Mel Robbins goes on to interview a doctor in the book and explain that when you're in this part of your brain, you need to sleep more, you barely have any energy, you're stressed, you don't make good decisions, and it affects everything about yourself. Neurologically, your brain enters a survival mode. And Mel says you deserve a good life, but you'll never be able to get there if you stay in survival mode. She says you're never going to become the person you were meant to become if you constantly let the inner critic get the best of you when you're in survival mode. So if you're the one maybe doing the hate out there, but in your head, you're like, I'm just giving feedback. I'm just going on these forums to vent because her video really triggered me. Here are some things to think about instead. Let's be real. We've all gossiped or judged before, but if you catch yourself writing a 10-paragraph Reddit post about someone's voice or someone else's boyfriend, maybe it's time to just take a beat, take a breath, and think about, is there something that is triggering you, and why is that? What are you avoiding? What do you wish you had? Where do you need to grow? And if you think you're helping by obsessively critiquing an influencer's life, you're not. If they're not in danger, then respectfully, let them live. Hating doesn't make you powerful. Healing does. So if you're an influencer right now who's receiving a lot of hate and it's just driving you insane, as Mel Robbins would say, let them. Let them help your engagement. Let them help your algorithm. But if you don't want the beast to continue to grow, stop feeding it. And if you're someone out there that's getting triggered by some videos, and I understand there's some videos of people that I'm like, man, that's annoying, then think about it for a second. And maybe just move on and let them keep creating the videos. Move on to another channel you want to support, because commenting and making long posts and really just fixating on this stuff is actually bringing your energy down. So in a way, you also have to follow Mel Robbins' advice and say, let them. Mel Robbins goes on to say, but you can't just stop at let them. You have to then go on to that next step, which is let me.
Because let me is when you remind yourself, let me remind myself that I always have power. Let me remind myself that my thoughts are in my control. My actions are in my control. How I process my feelings are in my control. Let me remind myself that no matter what's happening out there, I get to choose what's worth my time. I get to choose what's worth my energy.
And it's basically telling yourself that you're allowing yourself to step into the person that you want to be, to not let anyone steal your energy, your creativity, bring stress into your life. So you're saying, let them do them and let me do me. See how like your body almost elevates when you do that? So you can't just let people do their thing. You also have to decide, what life do I want to continue to build, and what habits do I have to take on that will help me do so. Michel said in a recent video that for her mental health, she stopped reading any of these hate forums.
I have a very strict rule with myself where I do not read any snark forum for myself or for other people, and I haven't in over 2 years.
So good.
That is one choice of let me step into my higher self. So if influencers out there don't want to continue to feed the beast of their hate forums, then advice is to stop engaging and just let them be your biggest support over there. But you then have to step into let me also continue to step up and continue to inspire my life and grow it and make it beautiful and stay in that creative, safe space. If you're one of the so-called haters out there, listen, we have all made judgments. We have all been triggered by certain videos and wanted to write a mean comment and do the thing and engage with others. But honestly, maybe consider taking Mel's advice on your end too and think, if this influencer is triggering me this much, I need to just move on to intaking more content. Why am I intaking content that I don't really like in the first place, that I'm hate watching? Because it might be fun to kind of hate watch someone and chat with friends, but in turn, according to Mel Robbins, that's taking away from your energy and your creativity. And weirdly, that's also bringing you down as well. So if you want to also elevate, you have to go, let them make that content that I don't really like. I'm going to now let me step into a different side of myself without this energy that I don't like, that I'm being triggered by. There's so much more to unpack when it comes to the neurological and physiological studies behind this, so I highly suggest checking out and reading the full book, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. I've put a link to it in the description below. And if you like more cultural deep dives, I think you're gonna like this video next. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.